Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 373. In this episode, you're going to hear from Leslie Draffin. And Leslie is a psychedelics, sensuality, and feminine embodiment coach. And she helps women who need to heal their trauma and therapy hasn't worked for them. So one of the quotes that she said that really stuck out to me, and I'm just going to go ahead and read this, is she said, "When you let the monster out, it's not a monster anymore. It's a mouse." So we build these things up in our head and we think they are so much worse than they are. But then once you share it and you tell people about it, usually you realize, oh, other people have gone through it too. It's not that big a deal, but it's a huge relief to just share it. So it was such a good episode, and go back, listen to that. But today we're going to talk about the 3 reasons why Leslie Draffin is so badass. Before we get to the episode, if you're loving this podcast, I would be so grateful if you headed over to iTunes and left a 5-star rating and review. Every single rating and review helps, and it helps other badasses just like you to find the show. Okay, with that, let's get to it.
Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I am so glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about 3 reasons why Leslie Draffin is so badass. And I'm so excited to get into this. But I want to take a second and talk about this. Every week, every time I release an episode, I do a follow-up episode. Almost every time, right? And it's why so-and-so is so badass. And that's what we take time to dive into. But I don't want you to take this lightly, because as I'm talking about Leslie today, and I'm talking about why she's so badass, I want you to reflect. Ask yourself, how does this apply to me? Have I ever done any of these things? And if so, let it remind you that you're a badass too. That's part of this, is looking at the different things other people are doing. And it's so easy to be like, oh my gosh, she's killing it. She's nailing it. They have it all. But then we forget about ourselves. And we forget, oh, wait, we've done this thing too. And so it's important because we often, especially as women, we forget what a badass we are. And we tend to push it to the side, or be very humble about it and be like, okay, I did that, but it's not polite to talk about that. I don't want to brag. No, freaking have your badass journal. Maybe I say that because I'm creating a proof of my badassery journal, but have a journal, have a paper, have a file on your computer with all of the badass things that you've done, all of the badass things that you've overcome. If you hear something on this episode, like something that I say that Leslie did that was so badass, and it reminds you, oh, wait, I did that thing too. Something similar, right? Then write that shit down. If we don't write it down, we don't capture it and we forget, right? Those times where we're sitting there and we're having just a crappy week, then we forget all of the good things. We forget all the badass things that we've done. So we need something written down that we can go back to and be like, oh yeah, I did that thing. Here I am. I am still here after that crappy thing happened. And you have something to look back on and reflect and help remind you when you're in those crappy times, when you're in the worst of times, or you're just feeling like, oh, I can't do anything right. I have those times. I don't know about you. And so it's about having these little daily reminders of the badass that we are. That's why I do these episodes. I do these episodes, yes, so you can see why Leslie's a badass, but more importantly, I want you to see why you're a badass. I want you to see what makes you so stinking cool and the things that you've overcome. Okay, with that, let's get to the episode. Okay, let's get into it. 3 reasons why Leslie Draffin is so badass. Now, I'm just going to list the reasons off the top. Number one is for ditching her public persona. Number two is for her vulnerability. And number three is for her mental health advocacy. The first thing that's so badass about Leslie is that she ditched her public persona. This can be so stinking hard. It's like we're living a life, we're doing the things we thought we were supposed to do, we're doing these cool things that was like maybe on our bucket list, or maybe we thought, like, oh, this is my dream job. This is the thing, because she was a news anchor, right? And so she could have pursued that thinking all along, like, this is my dream job, this is what I want to do. And then you get there and all this stuff happens. And it's no longer what you thought it would be. Or it served its purpose for a time, but then, like, moving forward, it just doesn't work for you anymore. So a lot of us struggle with that. When we get the job, when we do the thing that we thought was like on our list, like one of the things just checked off, or something that, maybe society told us we should want, or we wanted it without questioning it. It doesn't really matter how you end up there, right? But a lot of people will just stay in that spot because they worked so hard to get there. Or it's like change. Man, change is freaking hard. And to take a step back and be like, oh, who am I if I'm not a news anchor? Who am I if I'm not a teacher? If I'm not a police officer? If I'm not an attorney? Who am I? I mean, I think a lot of you can relate. Who am I if I'm not a mom, right? We identify with these roles in our life. And then when your kids get older and move out of the house, then who are you? Or if you're to leave your position and move somewhere else, who the heck are you? And then for Leslie, it's like she had all of these things she wanted to talk about, but she couldn't on the being a news anchor. She couldn't using that platform. So she had to make a big change. Well, she didn't have to, but she did. And I think that's badass. And then here's another part of it is oftentimes we stay stuck in that job or that thing because it's what we think we should do. It's what everybody around us wants. And we don't even know that, right? Sometimes we don't even know that that's true. We just assume that it's true. Like, oh, this is a great job. Why would I leave this job? What would everybody think? But then you keep going down this path and you keep dealing with, in her case, she was dealing with a lot of hardship and a lot of trauma. And I've seen this over and over again in law enforcement. And it's like you can be hard charging, you can push past the trauma and the pain, and then it works until it doesn't work anymore. And it's like it doesn't do us any favors in the long term to just keep going, to keep pushing when it's not what we want to do. That takes a toll. It takes a huge toll. I know for me, it was like, okay, I kept pushing, I kept going, and I would ignore my emotions specifically. And so kept doing that. And then all of a sudden, my stepdaughter died, and whoosh, I couldn't stop crying, right? Because I had all those, yes, of course, you're going to cry when your family members die. That's a given. But then it's like, also, I think all of the stuff from the past that I didn't deal with, I then had to deal with at that same time. So it like compounds one on top of the other. And then even Leslie was talking about how she heard a story on the news and she couldn't stop crying during the show because it just hits you. It hits you if you're not taking care of yourself. Or it can just be, you can be taking care of yourself, but it's just like years of stuff built up that you haven't been able to deal with. But I think it's super badass that she took her time off, she took her time away, and then she worked on herself, worked on what she wanted, what would be good for her life. And then she was able to step away from being a news anchor. And then here's the other part of it that's so cool is she was unfiltered. She said the things that she wanted to say, the things that she had been like held back by. And oftentimes we think, oh, but everybody knows me as this. I've been in the spotlight. People know who I am as the news anchor. What are they going to think if I start talking about these things? That can be hard, which actually leads me to number two, which Leslie is so badass because of her vulnerability. She had so many good things that she was willing to share. Like she talked about trauma, burnout, having an eating disorder. And then she talked about her herpes diagnosis and what that felt like and all the shame that came along with that. Uh, guess what? I guarantee you, Leslie's not the first one that's had herpes, but a lot of people just aren't talking about it. And so she could have been like, oh, news anchor, everybody knows me as that. I can't possibly talk about herpes. What will people think of me? But she stinking did. She did. She talked about the hard things. She opened up and shared her experiences. And if she hadn't have done that, then maybe it wouldn't help other people. And there was a quote she said that I really loved. When you let the monster out, it's not a monster anymore. It's a mouse. And so we have these things in our head, these thoughts about our past experiences, shame, and it seems so scary, so daunting. We feel horrible about ourselves, right? And just kind of beat ourselves up. And it seems like a big, scary monster that's going to like take over, tackle us. And so it's scary, it's horrifying. But Leslie says, well, once you talk about it, then it becomes a mouse. It becomes not a big deal anymore because it's out into the world and you don't have to hide it. But then also, sometimes you don't know until you share how many other people have dealt with the same thing. And just by you sharing, what impact can that have on somebody else? How can that help them? Maybe it can lighten their burden a little bit. I don't know about you, but I really appreciate when people are vulnerable, when they say what's going on with them, when they share the hard things they've gone through. I'm really bad at doing this. I'm bad at being vulnerable, but I love it in other people when it's appropriate, right? Like the overshares, no, not so much. But it's definitely something to be respected when other people are willing to share some of their deep, dark secrets. And then, like, oh, yeah, that's true. Like when she talks about like the secondary trauma stuff, I can relate to that for sure. And secondary trauma or vicarious trauma is usually stuff. I should have looked up the definition. I did not. But it's things that you hear, see, face, like secondary, you hear it from other people. You didn't see it face to face necessarily, but you've had people repeat their stories. So, like in law enforcement, when I hear victims repeating their stories of stuff that happened to them, then that could cause trauma to me, or to you, right? If you're hearing these stories. And so then as a news anchor, Leslie, when she would talk to people, victims of horrible things, then she still can experience that trauma inside her. And some things are just hard to hear and hard to deal with, hard for us to process. So I love that she was willing to be vulnerable, willing to be open and really share about her eating disorder, herpes, kind of PTSD, just all the things. And then also her journey from being the news anchor to doing what she's doing now as a coach. Where in your life are you not being vulnerable? Where could you maybe open up just a little bit more? Could you share something you've went through? Now, if it's new, I believe in sharing old wounds or scars more than just something that's fresh and wide open, right? And if it is fresh, then you want to find a safe place. You want to have a friend that's safe that can just let you process, or have a counselor, therapist, something like that. But yeah, I just think that's important to know the crowd, know the audience. If it's brand new to you, take care of yourself, number one. But then after that, after you've healed from it, who can you share? Or who can you share with? Who can you help? Think of the impact that you could make. If Leslie's story hit home to you in any way, think of how you could do the same thing for someone else. And go on a journey with me, embrace your vulnerability, just try to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more open, even when it's hard. there can be amazing results on the other side of that. Okay, number 3. Leslie is an advocate for mental health. She shares so much stuff about what she went through to get to where she is now. And she talked about the PTSD and the trauma she faced at work and all of the things that she went through. And she advocates for people to get the help they need. And not only does she advocate it, but she helps people get there. So she's a psychedelics and sensuality coach and also feminine embodiment. But the psychedelics coach, right? She helps people microdose psilocybin. And so they can get out of their own way and get the help that they need. And so Leslie even said how she struggled with wine or alcohol, and she would have that every night. And then once she started doing the microdosing of psilocybin, then she stopped alcohol. She stopped drinking that, right? But she figured it out for herself, what works for her, and then she shared it with other people. And now she helps her clients do that. So they can microdose, but then ease some of their pain, ease some of their trauma, find out a different way of going about things. And she said it kind of opens up your mind to experience different things. So how can you use something that you've been through, a hardship that you've faced? How can you use that to help other people? What can you do? So I'm going to tell you, take it from Leslie, embrace your mental health, really lean in on your mental health, and where you can, just practice self-care. Do the things that you can to make you healthy, because that will help when you have those downtimes, when you have like breaking points. If you've stayed healthy all along and you've taken care of yourself and dealt with the things like you should, I don't like should, disregard that. If you've dealt with things then it doesn't make the hard times as hard. So take it from Leslie, deal with your mental health, make that, I say, put that at the forefront. Make that number one, because when these hard things happen, then we can deal with it. And it doesn't have to be like a big old avalanche. Instead, it can be a small little like pebble that drops down, right? Instead of a big old avalanche. Because that's what happens. If we're not taking care of ourselves on a regular basis, then it ends up being bigger than it needs to be. So yes, I'll get on my high horse on this one because mental health is so important to me. And I really love how Leslie prioritized it and took care of herself and worked through it. Because you know what? The other thing is, she could have let it take her down. When she couldn't be a news anchor anymore, she could have just let it take her down and not go back to being a news anchor, but also not do anything else with her life, right? She could have just been like, okay, I'm over it, I quit. But she did a lot of self-exploration. She figured out what it was she really wanted and how to speak her truth and speak up. How can you speak your truth? What can you start speaking up about that you're passionate about? After she went through her journey, and then she became passionate about talking about mental health. What's your thing? What have you gone through that could help somebody else? Okay, wrapping up, let's do a quick recap. 3 things that makes Leslie Draffin so badass. 1 is for ditching her public persona. 2, her vulnerability. And 3, her advocacy for mental health. With that, we'll end our show. All the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.